All right, hello and welcome everyone. Doug here with thelincolnlist.com. Let me welcome you back to another edition of Stock Market Mutterings. This will be for the week that begins on the 14th of September. Hope everybody is doing well out there. As always, this is where I'll do my best to take a grope in the murkiness, try to make some sense out of this market for you guys. And in the end, I hope I can put some money in your pocket by providing you with some quality trade setups. Before I start though, I want to begin where I left off last week by saying this is my 10-year anniversary now running thelincolnlist.com. And one of the things I wanted to do was give a little bit back here to the trading community, and I offered a free trial to all of my trading services, which includes the live trade room and also the swing trade program as well. So on the screen here somewhere will be a link. There's 1 week left in this trial. For any of you out there that didn't take advantage of it last week, I'm going to go ahead and post a link. Feel free. All you got to do is send me an email there, put trial in the heading, and we'll go ahead and get you started there. Look forward to seeing and trading with you guys this week, and maybe this is going to be one of the best weeks that you get a chance to learn. Now, this is where I want to go back and I want to talk about the SPY, because right now I'm looking at an intraday chart, and I'll switch to a daily chart. Going into Monday, this is going to be very important because we are at a critical level. This is an intraday chart, but it does span over a couple of days. The lows for the week was this 329 area here that I'm showing on the chart, which was a post market. I believe this was on Tuesday, Tuesday, somewhere around there. Anyway, the important thing is to understand the number here. We got very close to that on Friday, getting down in here late on Friday before there was this really strong bounce. Now, I want to make a comment about Friday because, as most of you know, that was 9/11, and that has been traditionally one of the more emotional trading sessions. It's kind of that time where we all stand up as a country, flip the finger to everyone else who's ever disrespected us and said, watch this, we're going to run the hell out of this market. We're America, we're bullish. Yeah, that kind of thing, right? So it's like 11 out of the last 12 sessions on 9/11 trading has been bullish. Now, for us to gap up and lose so much kind of brings me to some concern that there wasn't really a lot of interest, especially down towards the lows of the day. Now, when I kind of move over here to a daily chart, we'll expand this over here. Just give me a second. Just a little bit bigger. We're right here at just a really, like I said, a really big pivotal level here. Also, a cluster of support that goes back into the beginning parts of August. Now, we've already experienced roughly I'm just quoting this off the top of my head, so I might be wrong, but it's like a 7-8% correction here on the SPY. Plus 10% on the Qs, which we'll talk about in just a second. That's a pretty deep correction in itself. But it's really important to pay attention to those lows, because if we go lower early in the week, I think the market, and the way the market is leading me right now, which I could be completely wrong, but it's kind of telling me this isn't a bottom. This doesn't feel like a bottom. Like when it got down to the lows, it didn't seem like everybody stepped up and bought. It was like tentative buying. And what that means, guys out there that you're trading for the first time or trying to read charts, trying to read the tape, whatever you want to do, you got to get a feel for how the volume and the tempo and all that kind of stuff is. And it's just telling you that, if the market can't get support at an area, it's got to find another level to where people get interested in. And I think that's what we're going to do. Now, if you look at this chart, you got to go all the way down to where you find significant support. It's somewhere in the 321s and the 200-day of 308. So that's pretty far. And again, this is what you get when you have a market that melted up and was all-time highs every couple of days, that when it does correct 5 or 6%, it's huge. It's a big retracement. So if we don't hold those lows early, I would expect that we're going to get down here a little bit closer into probably the under 330, somewhere in that area, 325s, before we really find a bottom. But again, we're going to have to let it play out. That's all we can do here. Now, if it does bounce and it holds, then maybe we can start to build a level here. But again, I don't think we're just going to snap right back to all-time highs like what this market has seen before. Because when you get a deep correction like this, it just doesn't come right back. And if you look back here in the coronavirus sell-off, that's what it did. Once it got shaken down, there were fake bounces, and then it really rotated before it found a low. And I think, I'm not going to say we're going back to that, but I think we're going to see something a little bit deeper. To make this easy for you guys, going in, I'm looking for more shorting and more selling than I am actually buying, and very tentative about buying dips here. Same thing with the Qs. I'll pull these up here real quick. You can see these levels are going to be very, very important going into Monday about how they hold and whether they're going to be able to hold up in that area. See, the same thing here. You got some pretty good support on this one, roughly at 260, 263 right here. Yeah, 264. So I would think this is probably going to hold up somewhere in between this gap from July and find a nestling spot down in here. Again, this one's already 10+% of a correction. That's pretty deep. So it just seems to me, based on the way Friday was trading, unless it was a total fake out, which I'd be willing to admit that happens from time to time, that we're going to find some lower prices. Now let's move on and talk about a couple of different types of stocks and what we're looking for. Now, as primarily just a short-term trader, I sort of let the market do what it wants to do first, and then I'll make my choices after that. I want to go back and I want to look at some of these here that are possibly setting up that might interest me in short. And these are just short trades. I'm not in any mood whatsoever to take an overnight swing trade short right now. That doesn't mean it wouldn't work or that's not a good idea. It's just something I'm not interested in doing right now at this point after this type of correction. I'd rather just make short-term quick trades until we get through most of this volatility. Hopefully the market would make a bottom somewhere and then just really double down or triple down really hard when you feel the length of conviction there. So for short-term trades, I'm thinking about just kind of walking back. And I did a good short on this one on Friday. I'm thinking about doing the same thing here with BABA. You've got about 3 bottoms roughly at the 267s. And I think if this ultimately presses below that 267, that you're going to see this thing float a lot further downwards into those other levels here, probably going to be somewhere around 255. So I like this one, especially if it begins the day with a nice little spike or something like that. You can also put something here like Cuervo. I'm going to give you this one here in just a second. I think ultimately this Cuervo wants to come back and test the lows. Now this one bounced, it got a gap up on some increased guidance here, but I think if you look at this one a little bit closer, same thing. It hasn't really been able to build on that, and that's the thing we've been seeing, the changes that some of these stocks do break out, and they have been breaking out early, but they haven't really been able to build on any of those breakouts. And you keep getting all of this rejection right here around the 10-day moving average. And I think if you just lose this 120 and you start to see a little bit more aggressive selling in the market, which may be on tap, that it will fill back into this gap and come back down here a little bit closer to 114. So Cuervo is definitely on the list as a potential short. Also, Netflix here would be another one that I'd be interested in getting back into these double bottom lows right here into the 463. So I think you have some short ideas here. Are they the best setups? They're not, because you're chasing down into the hole a little bit, at least on the dailies. So just to kind of clear things up, the way I want to approach this is if there is any bounces, any sort of euphoric, parabolic, early moves in any of these stocks that we've been trading, BABA, Nvidia, Tesla, Cuervo, Lulu, ACOM, WDay, Apple, any of those get vertical or parabolic or get stretched out, barring there's some sort of specific news piece on that, I'd have to say that looking for short areas or trying to play the fade on that is going to be the right direction to go, especially if the market is having trouble attracting buyers at certain levels. So that would be the way that I would approach this. On the other hand, if it just starts with a gap down on Monday and we begin to sell out and there's just excess panic, one thing to be sure of is chasing shorts is a strategy that never works either. If you get shorting down in the hole or shorting towards lows, you almost always get smoked doing that. So I would think might even consider, like, for example, if I didn't take Netflix or a gap down and the first move got me really close into the 462s, I'd completely change my mind about shorting. I wouldn't chase a short down that low. It's too close to support. I would actually buy that stock and see if maybe the market could reach a turnaround point. So all of this stuff, when you're in these corrections, you got to understand what you do here. We've talked about it before. I've done a video on this before. When you're entering a correctional period, whether it's a 5%, 10%, 20%, or whatever, that remains to be seen. But the important part is they all work the same. We talked about it last week too, is you're going to have increased volatility. Things can move up and down so quick. So you can go 10 straight up on an Nvidia, then 10 straight down, then 25 straight up. You're going to get these expanded ranges. Sometimes it's going to be hard for some of you guys to trade around that. to try to get the tops, to get the bottoms. But you're just going to have to be patient with the setup, use your stops, and just, let it work for you. That's the only thing that you can do here. Lower your sizes as well and try to move your way through it. So for my plan here, I'm always going to stick with the same names here, the Netflix, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, all those kind of names. But if we go parabolic, I'm going to be very skittish about that early on. I'm not going to be for sure that that first move out of the gate is going to be a hold. If it does, then I'll change my plan. I'd be looking to short that move. On the flip side, if we gap down or we flush early, I would be looking for some of these that reach those critical levels of support and just try to buy them. Again, use stops, use lower position sizes, give yourself some flexibility on these. We'll eventually work our way through it, but it's going to take a little bit of time. So anyway, guys, I want to leave it with that. I want to thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget about the 10-year special here. It's been a pleasure for me to be doing what I've been doing for 10 years. I know I've been on and off here over the last month or so, but just trying to get back to business here. And don't forget about the trial. I'll put the link there on the screen. Join us. Trade with me every day the market's open. I'm still there slinging some stocks, doing my thing. And hopefully I can share something with you that'll provide you with something that'll last you forever. Show you a way to make some money. So enjoy it. Take care. Trade well tomorrow. As always, if you need help, feel free to reach out to me. Support at lincolnlist.com. Till next week. See you then.